Good morning. It's 5:30 a.m. Woke up a little bit early because the kids put them back down to bed, and today we're going to be hacking away on some DevOps stuff, specifically getting a new version of Splat released. But Splat is still on still on app fair. I need to move it across to VSTS. We need to implement package signing. We need to reuse these existing secrets without revealing them on stream. Luckily, VSTS is really, really good, but I'll be taking some precautions. We're in this situation because we haven't done a release for Splat in quite a while. And we need to do a new version or a new release of Splat because we're using MS Build extras, and that was accidentally bringing in some bad SDK references. Normally, Oren would help me out with this. Oren is a swell guy if you've never met him before. Unfortunately, he's not available to me, but fortunately, he's taken some time off for himself. He's on vacation with his family. Now, something to think about is when you're consuming open source software, like most of the time it's just people like me and Oren and other people. It's free, right? No one's paying for it. Like, we could be spending time with our family and other things. I'm doing this after putting my kids back down to bed. It's kind of how open source works. So please be kind. All right, so let's build up a backlog and let's go through and do it. Hello, everyone, for joining in. My name's Jeff. Cool, let's do this. Alright, so I've created a scratchpad. I'll dump the link for this into chat, and looks like chat's not working, so I'm going to go restart it. So one tick, let me restart the chat. And welcome back. We now have chat working by the looks of it. Alright, a couple moments. Right down there in the bottom of the feed, there's like just a pad, scratch pad. If you want to chat, you can either use the main Discord thing or you can work with me. This is my scratch pad. What we're working for, creating a backlog, and let's do it. Alright, quick recap. Purposes, we're just going to get cake. We're going to do some updates to cake. We're going to get recap and purpose. Alright, we need to release a new version of Splat. And to do that, we need to move away from Git version. There's nothing particularly wrong with Git version. It's just I'm going to be copying and pasting the reactive UI build script, and we switched to NerdBank because Oren looked after the maintenance of that, and that's his preference. Removing all app layer references, get it to build locally, having semver done automatically. If you have any particular questions as I go through this, just ask. Like all this like automated build pipeline stuff is what I know back of my hand. So any insights I can share, just ask. Sweet, so I pulled down Splat. I'm running on master now. Now previously Splat was running on two branches, develop and master. We're getting rid of that. We're going to run a single branch of master. It's basically, we just don't merge stuff until it's ready for release. And it doesn't release stuff automatically anyway. There's a manual approval process. We'll be getting through that. Alright, so we now cloned it down. It's now up to date. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's been about a year since the last release, so I'm just going to go through and just mass burn a whole bunch of stuff, and then going to take the reactive UI build script, put on top of Splat, bring across the vsts configuration YAML, and we should be goodish. Unfortunately, we're not using Git Release Manager anymore. I'm sorry, Gary. I would love to. Right now, our notes are generated manually, and I really wish they weren't generated manually. I just haven't had time to automatically create the release notes. So every time we do a release, I'm in there with Markdown editing, and that is terrible. I just haven't got Git Release Manager working again. Now we don't use Git version anymore. We're going to be using Git version in NerdBank, which does not need this configuration. Git version by Git Tools with Jake and everything that uses this configuration file, but it's not needed. We're moving to Nerd version, and Nerd version uses this JSON right here. Cool. First off the bat, that version number's wrong. We're at a 4.0 series. Cool, that means the major. Hey Mitch, thanks for joining. That means the major and the major and feature. So the major and minor are now set to 4.0, and it automatically increments the patch. Anytime we want to do a new version, like for a breaking or a major or another feature, we just like update this file, we PR it, and that does a new release with that particular version. Hey Mitch, if you've got any questions about Cake, vsts, DevOps staff, pipelines, Splat, Reactive UI, I've got about an hour, so let's see how much we can do. Thanks for joining in. Also, if funk's not your thing, I can change the tunes. It's just very early. Alright, so I've just done a bulk find and replace because I've taken the reactive UI build script and I'm putting it into Splat. And you'll find this is really common with any of my open source projects. Reactive UI's build script is the authoritative, that's where the innovation happens, and every now and then we kind of like package and copy them back. There's some really cool things made by made by Gary in the Cake team that allows more parameterized builds. Unfortunately, that was created after we'd done all this work. Man, thank you very much for all your help with creating the Discord bot. If you don't know about Discord channel, it's just click on the link down in the Twitch room. And Mitch is just some person I met last stream, and he's just been like shipping code and helping me build a Discord bot. It's been really cool. Mate, love your work. Thank you. Alright, so that find and replace has found a couple of things we need to clean up, because the repository for this is reactive UI/splat. There's only a single package for Splat, so it can burn this array. Zero unit tests with Splat. If you'd like to have some unit tests added, please send the PR in, but there's no unit tests with Splat. A little bit annoying, but that's what it is. Alright, so there's no need to specialize particular events with Splat. With reactive UI, we invoke a code generator for each platform, and then we compile the resulting output of that code. And sweet. Alright, I'm just going to do some quick maintenance for Mitch. I need some help with Discord. And yeah, reactive UI, we do a code gen, and there's no code generator in this, so I can just burn it all. 1, 2, let me just switch out and help Mitch out. Okay, Mitch, so owner was like right down the bottom. It's now way up the top, right at the top hand position. So let me know if that's not what I need to do. Just gonna press save. Should be all good. Thank you for your help. Yes, and the Discord channel is ghuntley.com/chat. So the tool I'm using here is Build, Cake Build. It's just an abstraction above MS Build, and it has a whole bunch of plugins. Some of these plugins I wrote myself. For example, this one locks the dependency version. This is needed because the .NET tooling right now does not provide a way to lock versions used. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need to lock versions of dependencies with Splat because it has no dependencies. There's no unit tests, so I don't need coveralls for coverage. Not using Git release manager, no unit tests. That's it. Yeah, I can kill that as well because no unit tests. Now, one thing about any of the builds produced by Reactive UI is we actually sign our packages, and that's identity signing. So if you right-click on the DLL, it actually will say that it's like signed by the .NET Foundation certificate. Now, I don't have access to the certificate, which is awesome, which means I can't accidentally disclose it on air, which is like great. And how it works is we have a signing service, a vsts signing service by the .NET Foundation. It's made by Oren. He's blogged about it. It's really, really cool. So in this case, we're just invoking a PowerShell command line, which does some HTTP requests with the right credentials, and then we use it to assign our assemblies. We also use this certificate for signing the NuGet packages, but that happens out of band. It doesn't happen in here. So we're all safe. And that should be it. Probably won't build. Almost definitely won't build, but let's try it. It's probably one of the most annoying parts of using Cake is one or more errors have occurred without actually specifying what the error is. It's because I'm running my verbosity level low, but it'd be kind of cool if it just gave a little bit of a hint without having to crank my verbosity up to really high. So let's do this. Cool, totally issue on my end. I've renamed one of the targets, but here it is right there. Cool, it failed. What did it fail with? Let's have a look. Sweet. The looks like Xamarin Android is not resolving the SDK path. I haven't actually done a compilation on this machine for Xamarin 4 yet, so this should be interesting. I'm either going to need to specify the SDK path via specify the SDK path via cake, or figure out why it's not automatically resolving. This is going to be fun. So first, let's just isolate. Let's just isolate this. This is not that this is a cake issue, and that Splat actually compiles. Maybe it's just a Visual Studio thing. Maybe it's an issue on my end, but we need to isolate the components. Let's go. Alright, so I got Splat opened. It's restoring its packages with NuGet. Let's do a build. Let's see what happens. Yeah, sweet. So it's not a cake issue. It's to do with Xamarin Android. It's not able to find the Google SDKs for Android. So it's not even a Xamarin problem. Now, it's really weird and strange that it hasn't detected the location. I'm pretty sure I've got these SDKs installed. Luckily, to fix it, you just go to Tools and somewhere in here. So I think you go Options. Yeah, so the Android NDK is missing. Fun. Alright, I'm going to run the Visual Studio installer, see what happens. Actually, I might actually even isolate this further. Let's do a brand new Xamarin application and see what happens. Let's choose like 8.1 because we're not barbarians. Like, that's like 8.0. Sorry, 5.0 is a little bit barbaric. Okay. Okay, so build's okay, but I don't know if I've got any emulators set up. Yeah, I hadn't assigned licensing, so let's go download, update. Hopefully this won't take that long. Hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Howdy, my name's Jeff. We're just doing some open source maintenance stuff. Got any questions about vsts, build pipelines, cake? I'm here. Cheers. Let's scratch that. I'm terrible at solitaire. Alright, let's do some triage. So the software I'm using is Octobox. Octobox is great. If you are doing any open source software, like you're maintaining open source software or you have a community, you should be using Octobox. It is awesome because I just can't use the normal GitHub interface. It just doesn't work for me. Alright, so previous stream I was building some automation for my lights, and I was using this Q42 library, which is really good. Highly recommend it. Maintainer is like really responsive, and on top of that, the API just works. But I was doing some business logic, like for example, when I'm on air, my light should be red by default. So I got this business logic of should activate the door light. And I wanted to like assert that I'm sending the right RGB color. And it turns out that you can't assert RGB colors in the other end. Like you can use a Fluent interface to set the color via RGB color, but to actually assert it on the other way around, you actually got to assert HSLs, which is a little bit annoying, but apparently the device doesn't really even speak RGB color, and we're doing some conversion for HSLs on the top here, so I might have to change to use the version directly. So yeah, it's just I'm using XUnit, using inline data theories, and when I'm using particular software, either the process or the title. If I'm using the process or title, I'm returning back a dummy list and substituting that data in there, and then my services will detect and react, should set the light red. So yeah, user interface is updated, so that's updated automatically as part of a reactive extension stream, which is awesome. We'll get into that a little bit later, and into the one class. But I was unable to assert the RGB because it's internal. Let's just have a look. Ah, cool. I'll finish this up and it looks like our emulator's working. Alright, so this is a test that does a reverse conversion. It takes from RGB, turns it into HSL. So it is possible, I just got to create a state object, which is not that discoverable. So I'm thinking we might open up the public API for the extension methods. Alright, in the spirit of making a pull request as small as possible, I reckon we should just take get HSB. We don't open up get Hue. We wait for the next person to come along and say what their use case is. Oh. So one thing with open source, you just always want to make your pull request as small as possible to start a discussion, and then once that is done, you then as part of the discussion you can make more changes. But if you make too many changes up front, it's some people consider it rude, and it's really hard to review. And no one likes, like, if I spend a bit of time on a PR for it to get rejected, that really sucks. Could be avoided with advanced communication. So, for the heck of it, let's just suggest that we move this from internal static to public, and open that up in the public API service. Hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Seeing that we got a bunch of new people joined in. All right, so I've just been doing some open source triage work. Uh, Q42, this maintainer has been doing me a solid, incorporating my feedback about integrating and asserting states of my lights. I use Philips Hue lights on my door so my kid doesn't barge in like the BBC kid, and I just wanted to assert the actual particular states, and I found there was no public API service for conversion from RGB to HSL, but it uses HSL internally, and it may not be a good idea to add this to the public API service. So if it comes back, it says he wants to do the pull, says it's good to go, I'll do the pull request. If not, we'll just close the issue and mark it up, maybe do some documentation updates to say this is not a good idea, because I won't be the first person, because there's a public API that says set by RGB color. Anyway, it looks like doing a bit of yak shaving because I was waiting for Android Studio, for the Android emulator to download. So it's downloaded now. Let's see if it works. Cool. It's always good when the emulator works. First try. And I might only have about 15 minutes left before the rest of the family wakes up. Thanks for joining, everyone. My name's Jeff Huntley. If you go to ghuntley.com/live, you get links to Twitch, Discord, YouTube, and you just subscribe and get the notifications. So if I don't get this completed, it looks like I won't in the amount of time I've got left because of some toolchain issues and just initial configuration. You can tune in a little bit later tonight, and I'll be doing this as well. Specifically, the goals, what we're going to be doing is we're updating an open source project which uses BuildCake. We're moving away from Git version, going to NerdBank. So we've got automatic semver, moving from app failure to vsts because that's all my secrets are at, and likewise doing pipelines. So got a bit of a detour, but this is kind of what life as open source maintainers like. Sometimes you have to do these detours. Alright, so I've newed up a brand new Xamarin Android project. I've got my emulator, Visual Studio's detect the emulator up there, which is really cool. I didn't have to do anything, which is like awesome. That's really good. So if you never come across it before, Xamarin allows you to write iOS and Android applications in .NET. And they're real native applications. Cool, application deployed, starting up. It's just a brand new file, new project, and we have a native application, not using Xamarin Forms, just a plain Android, and it's just like p-invoking over to the Java equivalent APIs. And it's working, sweet. So that proves that my toolchain works fine. I now have a emulator set up where I didn't previously. Let's see what happens when I compile Splat. Previously it was failing on resolving the build SDKs for Android, but that now works, so hopefully it's now working. And Visual Studio froze. Let's report this. Cheers, Dave, for fixing that. That's really cool. That was a really annoying bug. Alright, it's probably going to take a bit. So let's have a look. That's our backlog. Alright, I'm going to need to... Oren's on leave. Might need to revert this commit out, Glenn. If you want to revert this out, I'm totally up for that. If the build's red, let's get it green and then we fix it. Oren's not going to be available for about a week because he's taking some time off, which is great. You should take time off. Cool. Bugs logged. Let's see if this works. We're green. That's awesome. So it looks like until you configure an emulator, it doesn't actually configure the right paths. So that's why I was unable to build from the command line. So if I now switch to Cake, it should now compile. So finally we're back. It's now working again. We're back on track. And no, we're not. Alright, this is going to take a little bit to fix. I'm going to do this off air. I'm going to get my SDKs working fine. Once they're running, I'll jump back on air a little bit later. Probably later tonight at this stage. Alright, thank you very much for tuning in. My name's Jeff. Go to ghuntley.com/live. Follow me on Twitch and YouTube. You get notifications of when I'm on the air. Likewise, there's a Google Calendar that you can subscribe to, and that has when the regular broadcasts are on. It's typically Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. I don't think I'll be able to do Wednesday night this week. It looks like I might need to pack my bags and head down to Melbourne. So I won't be in a position to do any streaming tomorrow by the looks of it. Anyway, thank you. Until next time. Cheers.